欢迎收看今天的茶余饭后节目，我是李斌。今天茶余饭后节目呢，非常荣幸的邀请了加州最高法院的法官陈慧明先生。陈慧明法官呢，他是第一位华裔，在美国这50个州里面第一位华裔做到这个州的最高法官这个位置上的，是非常荣幸的请到呢陈法官上我们的茶余饭后节目。Justice Chen, it's an honor to have you on our show.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
所以今天呢，非常遗憾的就是说呢，这个椅子啊，这个不像他们法官坐的椅子非常大，非常舒服啊。今天让他坐这个椅子呢，实在对他来说可能是非常的不自在Is it very uncomfortable for you to sit in this kind of a narrow director's chair instead of your justice's bench? People have to kowtow to you.
Actually, these chairs are much more comfortable than
really?
ours. Those chairs look impressive, but they're very uncomfortable.
Is that right?
Well, they're not working chairs.
You don't know how many people would craving to sit on the chairs of the justice.
I would be happy to change chairs with you anytime.
Really? So, 在今天呢，是不是给我们介绍一下这个作为加州的最高法院法官，说你每天做的事情是什么样的？就是每天做些什么样的事 ？What's your jurisdiction? What's your responsibility?
Well, the Supreme Court is the top court in California. We have what we call mandatory review in some cases, and of course those are the death penalty cases. Those come directly to the Supreme Court from the trial courts. In other cases, we have what is called discretionary review, and in those cases we review all of the work of the courts of appeal throughout the state. And we do that every Wednesday. And on any particular Wednesday, we may have 150 to 200 cases to review, and from those we decide whether or not we're going to grant review.
一天里面 wait a minute. Every Wednesday, you got to review 100多个案子 Every Wednesday, 150 cases?
Yes.
你怎么能读得完那么多 cases? It's an incredible thing. How are you going to read all these cases in one day? 8 hours maximum?
Well, we have a week to prepare them. Every Wednesday we review them. So I spend lots of weekends reading the materials to decide which ones to grant review. It's a monumental job, but it's one that has to be done, and it has to be done carefully. Now, of course, all 150 of them are not as important. There may be 50 or 60 that that rise to the top and are really seriously considered for whether or not we want to write on that subject matter.
OK， 那么给我们介绍一下 ，OK， 就是在加州的最高法院，它是由几个成员组成的 ？OK， how many how many people form this kind of the California Supreme Court?
There is a Chief Justice and 6 Associate Justices, so there are 7 altogether, and all 7 of us meet every week to decide what cases to grant review in.
那我们都知道在一个州里面，其实我们在美国都知道，这个所有的是每个州呢都是行政独立，这法律方面也是独立的，就是它有，所以大多数案件呢都是在州的法院系统审理的。All the legal, most of the cases are tried in the state courts. So there are so many cases in the year, like hundreds of thousands cases. How many cases? 到底有多少案件是最后能够上诉一级上诉到你们的最高法院来的 ？How many cases?
Well, about 200 cases a week have to be looked at, and those are just the ones that are decided by the courts of appeal. There are 90-some justices on the courts of appeal. There are probably 4,000 trial judges across the state. The interesting thing about the process is that the numbers of trial judges keeps growing. The numbers of the courts on the courts of appeal keeps growing, but there are still only 7 members of the Supreme Court to preside over this entire process. I mean, this is one of the largest judicial systems in the world. It's a gigantic operation.
But how do you pick what kind of cases come to review in the Supreme Court? Who make those decisions?
We make the decision on whether or not the cases need to be decided. The criteria that we use are whether or not there's a conflict. If there is a conflict between 2 districts of the Court of Appeal, then it's more likely that we might take it. If it's a new conflict, we might let it, what we call, percolate for a while. Let the courts of appeal write on the subject matter. for a while. But in order for us to take it, it has to be a major issue of statewide importance.
I see。所以呢，我们观众朋友如果对美国法律都比较熟悉的话呢，就都知道，就是说美国是属于案例法，就是 common law system。在 common law system 里面呢，就是说有很多是要靠那个案例。案例呢，就是加州呢是在美国是创造了很多这种案例，所以是 California is always leading, all the precedent setting in the whole United States。为什么是什么原因造成加利福尼亚州呢，在全美国是那么重要的一个州呢？What makes California such a, set so many precedents and for other jurisdictions to follow?
Well, I think much of it is largely the size of the state, the diversity of the population, the kinds of problems that come through the court system in that kind of population is generally on the cutting edge of the country. Therefore, we end up with those problems and have to decide them. If you go to other large states like New York, you will also find that the problems that court has to decide are usually precedent-setting and on the cutting edge. It's largely a matter of the size of the population and the diversity of the population.
今天非常感谢我们陈法官给我们介绍了关于加州的最高法院。接下来呢，先到广告时间，广告之后呢，我们想请陈法官呢给我们介绍一下他自己作为一个法官的感受。他现在已经 on the bench 已经2年时间，请他谈谈他的感受。好，观众朋友一会儿就回来。好，欢迎回到茶余饭后的节目时间哈。今天我们的特别来宾呢是加州最高法院的法官陈慧明先生。Your Honor, can you tell us your feeling about being a Supreme Court Justice? I know that you've been sitting on the bench. 你已经坐在成为法官，就是加州最高法院的法官已经2年多了。So do you enjoy it?
Well, I've been on the Supreme Court for 2 years, but I've been a judge for about 10 years. And it was a very difficult decision for me to leave a very successful private practice and to decide to try to become a judge. But frankly, I've never been sorry a day that I decided to do that 10 years ago.
是什么原因？我知道，我想我们的观众朋友如果知道我们了解您陈法官都知道，您以前呢是一个非常成功的这个法庭里的法官，就很多案件呢，就是您审理的非常成功。你为什么要离开这么好的private practice 做很好的律师？为什么离开那么收入又那么好？做律师的话，你收入又那么好，然后这个 reputation 又那么好，为什么离开而要成为一个 成为一个 judge， 成为一个法官？为什么？
Well, money has never been the highest priority in my life. I feel that as long as I can support my family, I've put 2 of my children through college and my daughter is in law school. As long as I can manage all of that on the salary that I'm paid as a judge, I'm very happy to be doing what judges are called upon to do. And that is to make decisions, tough decisions every day that affect people's lives. We know that they affect people's lives. We know that they're important decisions. We take the decision-making process very seriously, but we try not to take ourselves too seriously.
那我们观众朋友都知道，作为法官哈，在美国是享有这种至高无上的权利 （power）。OK， 这个权利，就是说很多人认为呢，一个人就是离开这个 private practice 成为一个法官呢，主要的原因是因为他们很喜欢这个权利。陈法官，您自己是不是很喜欢这个权利 ？Do you really enjoy the power?
The power is not important to me. The decision-making process is important to me. I realize that judges have a certain amount of power, but I've never been enamored with it, and I hope I never am. I think the process is more important than the power, and the fact that the process takes that it is done appropriately and properly. So the power part of it really does not impress me.
那么你作为一个那个最高法院的法官，您最 enjoy 的是什么事情 ？What do you enjoy most being the justice of the California?
Well, when I was in private practice, I was a trial lawyer. I had to advocate for a particular position on behalf of my client. Now I don't have to do that anymore. I don't advocate a position. All I have to decide is what is right under the particular set of facts and the law in the case that is in front of me.
But you know, as a justice, okay, of course you have a lot of power. But on the other hand, 就是在另外一面呢，就是你还会丧失掉很多你个人的自由。个人的自由，比如说您自己来说吧，就是很多方面的，对很多那个有争议性的 issue， 你根本都不能够表达你自己的意见。For example, here, if I'm asking you a question about the affirmative action, you cannot answer me. 就是说，您做一个那个最高法院的法官 ，you don't have the basic right like the First Amendment right， 对不对？
Well, there are appropriate limits, I think, that are placed on judges. And always to speak your mind is not necessarily a positive. Many people are free to say whatever they want about anything that they want. Judges obviously cannot do that. And the reason judges cannot do that is that judges have to decide difficult issues that will be brought before the court. And it is important for people to know that the judges will decide those issues only on the facts and the law in front of them, and not go outside the record to decide that case. If you state your opinions on various controversial subject matter, the people may not believe that you then can put aside that opinion and decide the case only on the particular facts that are brought before you.
那么作为一个法官，我想在加州就是说非常非常重要，就是说怎么样保持法官的他的一个公正性，就是非常非常重要。我想请问一下，那个陈法官，您自己是怎么样保持一个法官他的公正性的
？Well, that is a very good question, and it is a question that is currently before the voters of California. Judges are required to be fair, impartial, and independent on every case that is brought before them. Judges cannot raise their hand and test the political winds to decide the difficult issues that are brought before them. You have to look at it objectively, impartially, and that is what I always try to do, and I will continue to do that regardless of the clamor that surrounds me, based upon decisions that I may make that people may agree with or disagree with.
但是在我们在那个读很多像美国的很多案例哈，我们发现很多案例那个法官的这个 reasoning 啊，就是说他们的那个 ruling 或者 holding， 我们发现的就是说很多法官他是先做了一个结论，第一个案件先做了一个结论，然后再来 find the reasoning for that， 就是您是不是这样做的？
Well, I think that is totally inappropriate, and I would hope that anyone who read my opinions would see that there is a logical construction and that the analysis was arrived at to reach the conclusion, and that the conclusion was not sought after. I certainly try to do that in every opinion that I write. I was introduced the other night at a dinner, and the speaker said that the hallmark of Justice Chin's opinions are clarity and courage. I was very complimented by that introduction, and I hope that is certainly something that I try to do in all of my legal opinions.
我想我们如果知道您的以前在那个 Bay Area 的经历的话，都知道就是说您在当地呢是非常 well respected， 就备受尊重的一位 judge。所以呢，现在我们到了广告时间，广告之后呢，我想回到节目上来以后呢，请陈法官给我们介绍一下怎么样做一个好的律师，因为这点呢，很多我们电视机前观众朋友呢，也希望他们的孩子或者自己呢有志成为一个很好的律师，所以我想请您给我们谈谈怎么样成为一个好的律师。好，观众朋友，我们马上就回来。 今天茶余饭后节目的特别来宾呢是加州最高法院的法官陈慧明先生。刚才看的照片啊，我发现那个陈先生曾经参加过越南战争。我不晓得那个军旅生涯对您来说，对您从事法律工作有没有什么样的帮助 ？Do you think there's any help for your legal career being in the military?
Well, after law school, I joined the Army and was sent to Vietnam. I was stationed with a mechanized infantry unit 7 miles below the DMZ, the demilitarized zone between North and South Vietnam. It was an incredible, challenging, difficult experience. But it certainly prepared me for the difficult challenge of trying cases and being a judge. So that background was indispensable. The Army is a very efficient organization. I have great respect for the military and the efficiencies that are required.
Efficiency and discipline. Right?
That's true. The discipline was incredible. Of course, I got that discipline from my father long before I went in the Army.
Yeah, talking about, you know, what 是什么原因使你决定要从事这个法律工作的？您小的时候我知道您是在农村，是在那个农场工作，您父母亲好像是从事农业工作的。您当时怎么决定要从事法律工作？What makes you change your make your decision to go the legal career?
My father was a farmer in Oregon, and we lived on a farm just outside of town. And we went to a private Catholic boarding school, but by the time I got to junior high school, the nuns decided that they'd had enough of the Chin family, so they stopped boarding. A judge in town was a good friend of my father and called and asked if I would come and stay with him for the last 2 years of junior high school. So I stayed with the judge. Judge Vandenberg was a highly respected trial judge in Klamath Falls, Oregon. He took me down to the courtroom, let me sit in on jury trials, gave me law books to read. When I was 12, 13 years old, I read Blackstone. It was an incredible experience, and that's what sparked my interest in becoming a lawyer.
So I'm sure by the time when you were in law school, 你那时候在读法学院的时候啊，我相信那个时候大概很少有那个亚裔的学生在 law school 学习美国的法律，是不是？
Oh, that is definitely true. There were almost no Asian law students and no women. It was incredible. We had very, very few women in our law school class and almost no Asians. So it was really unusual for an Asian to be attending law school. And when I first started in private practice in the East Bay, you could count the number of Asian lawyers on one hand.
Wow. 所以你现在你做过律师，做过 trial court judge， 现在您做的那个最高法院的那个首席法官。所以您能不能谈谈，就是说在美国怎么样才会成为一个好的律师？ 需要什么样的素质
Well, becoming a good lawyer is a lot of hard work. You know, I've really been preparing for the Supreme Court all of my life. I was a deputy district attorney for 2.5 years, trying criminal cases, murder cases, drunk driving cases, traffic cases, burglaries, robberies, and then I went into private practice. Became a business trial lawyer, tried every kind of civil case imaginable, and I did that for 16 years. That broad experience as a lawyer was very, very important. I think that in order to be a good judge, you have to be a good lawyer first. Right. And in order to be a good lawyer, you should be respected by your clients as well as your colleagues. Be respected in the bar for your judgment, be sought after for your judgment. I think that's really the key to being a good lawyer.
好，观众朋友们，现在到了广告时间，广告之后呢，再回到我们茶余饭后的节目现场来。那么陈法官想问一下，也就是说啊，作为一个好的律师的话，首先要是一个非常好的演员，您同不同意这个观点？
Well, I prefer to use the analogy of a good teacher rather than a good actor. Acting presumes that you're not dealing with real life problems. In court, we're dealing with real life problems, and you're trying to teach the jury what the problem is about and convince them to go your way. So I think a good trial lawyer ought to be a good teacher, not necessarily a good actor.
我们观众知道这个11月份的选举哈，就是您的名字也会 put on the ballot， 就是说我们希望我们的那个电视机前的观众朋友，如果您是公民的话呢，别忘了在11月3号呢，一定要投我们的陈法官一票。好的，那么 it's a great honor to have you here in the tea time. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
好，观众朋友，我们明天再见。